Hi everyone. Welcome to another video in which I analyze a fan of the channel's games. In this game, Scott is a big follower of the YouTube channel, and he sent me a game, and I'm going to take a look at it. And my apologies to Scott. He sent me this game like 3 months ago, maybe 2 months ago. I've just been a bit busy, haven't got around to it until now, but here I am. Boom! We're going to look at it. So he's playing a guy who's rated like, they're both rated like 1900 basically. So let me turn that sound down. Hopefully it'll be an interesting game. So knight f3, knight f6, c4, c5. Now, this is one of the most important questions in chess, and a lot of players, I'd say under 2200, even under 23, 2400, have big problems with it. The question is, okay, we know what to do against d4, we know what to do against e4. What do we do against c4 and knight f3? And it really depends on what you play against d4. My opponent doesn't really give any notes on what he does against d4, because that really helps. Like if you play the King's Indian, for example, you can play the King's Indian defense against all openings. You can even play a version of the Grunfeld against all openings. The main thing that's tough to play against like c4 knight f3 is like the Nimzo Indian. But it's important to know it helps me if I know what the player plays as d4, and it kind of helps me to figure out what they should do against knight f3 and c4. What I recommend is to keep it as simple as possible. Like if you can find a line that you can play against c4 and knight f3, that's great. Or if one of them gives you trouble and one of them you can transpose to what you usually play, that's great too. But like don't play something like, I don't know, don't play something like totally different against one and different against the other if you can just play the same thing against both, because you don't want to spend too much time thinking about these moves, knight f3 and c4. I try to simplify it. It's not so easy for me though because of my opening repertoire. I have one simple way I can play against both moves, and then I have one that's a little more complicated. Because the one line that I play against both moves is like c5, and it transposes sometimes into a Maroczy bind. The problem with this is just against a lower rated player, it's very hard to win against the Maroczy bind. I play it kind of like for a solid position. So when I'm playing somebody lower rated, I do something else against knight f3 and c4. But that solid line I can play against either move, and it's totally fine. Anyway, let's look at what actually happened in the game. He wrote a big note here about how I don't know. He wrote a note, but I don't think it's super relevant to the game, so we're just going to look at what happened. Knight takes knight c6. Supposedly e5 is a move too, but all these lines, it's just, I don't know. Like I don't like to learn too much theory against stuff like the English or knight f3. It's just like, it's just against my nature because I don't see the opening enough. I like to keep it as simple as possible. But that's just my style. This is a completely normal way to play. Although I think this is a normal move here. Instead he played e3, which is like a little lame. It's definitely a lame move. So now we have to figure out what we're going to do. And no, I have not looked at this game before. This is me looking at it for the very first time. I might not even look at his annotations until after we're done looking at the game. That way, everything is fresh. So my gut instinct is simply bishop e7. Just develop the bishop. I would do that before d5. Let's see what he does. Bishop. Oh, this looks totally fine too. And definitely more aggressive than bishop e7. I got no problem with that. Bishop d2. Now I would just take on d4. I think. See, there's a typical concept where we just do d5. We can't do it now because queen a4 check. So I want to castle, you know, and the next move d5. And I think he has no time to stop us because, like, if he does this, we check him. It's one reasonable way to play. Also, we just castle. There's nothing wrong with castling. I would just castle, actually. That looks horrible. Sorry. It doesn't look so horrible, I guess. My first instinct is like, why would we do that? what's the point? You know, there's like no point at all in just taking the knight unprovoked in a position like this. I see what he's doing. I mean, he's planning something like this, but like first of all, we're not castled. I'm worried about a move like this, for example. I don't know if it's good, but like take and then queen g7. So it just feels wrong. You know, don't make unprovoked captures of a bishop for knight unless you're like winning a pawn or something. There's just no reason to do this. Just castle, call it a day. Everything looks fine. But he does it, and I bet queen g4. No, okay, I was wrong. Oh, but he wins the Yeah, I mean, castling is usually good. Knight c6, knight c3, knight. All right. I don't know if he missed this. He took back. I mean, the thing you have to look at is this, and then this. I don't know why he didn't do this. I mean, this is interesting, for example. And here, white wins a pawn. However, it's not so simple. Oh, I was going to do this, but then I see this move wins. See, I was thinking if knight takes rook, we take this, and then maybe we can trap the knight. But we can't, actually. This is winning for white, too. So this just doesn't quite... We lose a pawn here, basically. Whether it's better than... It's probably just horrible for black. Knight e4. So take, b takes. He doesn't go bishop g7. I guess there's something like maybe queen h4 or something. Oh, queen a5, duh. So if bishop takes g7, queen a5. So I guess the idea of this move is knight c3, queen g7. But it's just like unnecessary complications are happening here. The queen d4 is a good move. I guess but queen h4 doesn't work because of g3. I really don't know what black should do here. Jeez. I don't know. Somehow it looks horrible. I don't know. I'm just going to look at what he did. I'm just curious. Oh, jeez, man. I'm so weak. I can't find... I didn't even see this move. I would have seen it in the game, though. But now white's going to, like, stop us from castling. Bishop b4, maybe. Something like that. Bishop d3. Why can't we castle? Ah! Sorry. I'm just wondering why we're not castling. I had to scream like a little baby. Maybe it's okay, though. Maybe if castles... I don't know what he's worried about exactly. Maybe coming bishop b4 to d6. I mean, this move's interesting, but I guess white's not castled too, so maybe we have some tricks, like... maybe queen b6 or something. I think queen d6. Ugh. I don't know. Bishop d3 looks alright. You know, white should be thinking about castling too. I would probably use castle king side, but I admit some things like g4 are scary. But still, somehow I would probably do it. But alright, d6 was played. c5. Why not pawn takes pawn? Alright, take the pawn. Oh wow, this guy's strong. I didn't see that. I mean, whatever. You know, though, we have some interesting ideas, like... No, we don't. I'm looking at... No, I wanted to, like, sack the exchange, but... It doesn't quite seem very good. I think, like, rook d1. I mean, it's interesting. It's probably not completely losing. Like, idea bishop a6. But it's not great. You know, this is pretty bad for us. That's a strong move. Queen d5. I guess we have to do this. Is that what he did? Yeah. Bishop b4. Alright, get this stupid endgame started, man. Just like... Well, okay, I guess we have to trade queens. I don't see any other move. Okay. Bishop takes. So, I mean, we're worse here. He has the two bishops. and we have a weak pawn. But, you know, it's significantly worse. Our king's stuck in the middle, too. I mean, honestly, white has played quite a good game from what I've seen. This is pretty ugly. I guess knight to d7 and f6 and king f7. Just somehow try to get our king into the game. But a5, I don't know. I guess the idea bishop a6. Well, I guess he's going to go bishop a6. Oh, he went e5. That's a weird move. I guess he wants to bring the bishop out this way. You know, I just like bishop a6 just because it takes away the two bishops. We're still much worse, but maybe it's pretty ugly. Like if we do this, take rook d1, king, you know. Do this, I don't know, something like this. It's just kind of an icky position with our king here and our rook out of play. So e5 makes some sense, I guess. I'd still think about knight d7 and f6, but it looks like it makes sense. e4, bishop g4 is interesting, but he can just go f3 afterwards. I guess bishop e6 and knight d7. Let's just play solidly. Good. Knight d7 and f6 and king d7 and just pray. Or what else could we try here? Is e4 interesting? Wait, what's wrong with e4? That's what he did. Because if pawn takes bishop g4, check. Alright, so I guess it didn't do anything too special. It looked pretty, though. I guess bishop d5, rook d4, like this doesn't, that's what he did, but like it doesn't seem to do anything after this move. It just kind of puts our pieces on weird squares. So I don't know exactly what I do. We have this problem with our king. And you know, maybe this was better and just f6. And this is horrible though. It's pretty bad, this pawn. I don't know, man. This is the thing about two bishops. They're just so strong. They control the position so easily, and I don't know, it's just a tough position for black, and our king in the middle. Notice, by the way, we didn't castle early in the game, and it's starting to haunt us, you know? That's the thing about chess that's really interesting, and I talk about this a lot, is you have to make moves for reasons that you cannot calculate. Like, you could never calculate that something like this would happen, where your king being stuck in the middle would be a big problem. It's impossible. What you have to do is just have played enough chess to just recognize the patterns that come up. Because you didn't do something on move 8, then on move 23, every now and then this happens, where your king's just stuck in the middle of the board. It's impossible to calculate it, though. You can never predict exactly this will happen, but the point is you just castle, and then it's not going to happen ever. Instead of trying to do something else. The other thing that you do instead of castling has to be monstrously strong, in my opinion. Especially, by the way, if your rating is lower. Like, if you're like 2,500, somehow you maybe think you know some specific reason why you can break the rules. If you're under 2,200, or if you're under 2,000, just castle. Don't do bishop takes knight, knight e4 with your king in the middle of the board. That's just like, it's just asking for it. Like, I see the move, and I see, like, maybe it's okay, but my first instinct is like, oh, really? Really, we're going to do that? Before getting our king safe? It just, you know, it just fills me with dread, those types of moves. And I wonder if queen g4 was good in the beginning. But really, that's the big problem here. Bishop a4 looks strong. Threatening rook takes d5. We're threatening this, and after knight takes bishop c6. King d7. Oh, can't we go pawn takes e4 and win? Yeah, we just win with this move. And if king e6, well, bishop c6. Oh, that works too. Yeah, game's over now. Bishop d4. Rook e5 resigns. Alright, so let me look at the annotations here. Do it off screen because it's on chess base. Yeah, so he gave a lot of notes out. Bishop b4 is totally fine. Okay, so he said a lot of things, but I don't think there was really much to think about here. He overthought bishop b4. Like he wrote like a paragraph or two, actually more, like 3 paragraphs about whether he should go bishop b4 or bishop e6 or bishop d6, which is extremely strange move. Bishop d6 is not good. It's just not a typical move here. Bishop e7 is fine. Bishop b4 is fine. Basically, it doesn't. This position doesn't matter much which move you play. I'm sure both moves are completely fine. And that's an important skill to have, actually, is to recognize in which positions your move doesn't really matter that much. Like, there's no reason to be writing as much as he did, annotating this move. This move has not deciding the game or affecting the outcome even slightly, maybe minutely. Like, I actually like this move, though. Somehow looks good. And now he wrote bishop takes c3. This is a bad move, which I will explain in a few moves. It's a bad move because it's just a bad move because it's just castle. Yes, there's no need to, like, where's the knight gonna go? How is he gonna, like, what's he gonna do to stop this next move? Okay, I mean, maybe he's thinking like bishop to d3. The thing is, now we can do this, and this is like a perfectly normal setup that's fine for black. We don't have to do that, though. We could also just go d5, maybe. I mean, I like this setup just because I am comfortable with this type of position. Let's say he castles, we take. We go b6. I mean, it's just a standard standard kind of position here. It's like a Panavbot-Vinnik in the Caro-Kann, pretty much. And usually this position is pretty much fine for black. It looks better than usual somehow. I think we're maybe up the tempo. Black is. And by the way, maybe we can take this pawn in this particular line. So I was moving pretty quickly. So maybe castles doesn't even work. If he takes this, knight takes is usually fine. So, I'm not really worried about bishop d3. I'm just castling because it's just the thing you do in chess. You just do it. You just castle. I feel like whenever I annotate these games, it's always like somebody not castling. Like, it's just like, unless this move wins the game, it's just completely pointless. Like rook c1, whatever. It's not like we're going to win. I don't think queen h4 wins. So, we've just done this big, massive operation, and it's not like nothing amazing happens here. I mean, I don't even know if this is good for us. Knight b5 or something. But I'm still curious about this. Wait, about this move. I'm just curious. I mean, this struck me as something like scary, and after this. I mean, maybe we can do something like queen a5, but we are down a pawn, and you can take or knight b5. I mean, he didn't mention this in his notes, this queen g4 move. I'm kind of curious why. And so, like, he wrote a lot of notes. He wrote a few. Okay. He wrote a few notes. He wrote maybe one idea could be castles, another idea could be a6 and d6. No, a6 and d6 is not an acceptable idea. I'm sorry. After bishop b4. Oh, he meant after bishop takes c3, he could castle or go a6. But yeah, you just go castles here. It's completely normal. Right, he did this in the knight e4. I still wonder about queen g4. Did he annotate it? No, he only wrote knight c6, which is also good. But let me just turn on Houdini. Just curious. Yeah, always just much better. And notice the reason: king in the center. So because we can go queen g7. So I mean, I don't know. It's probably even better than this move. I'm sure. Let me see. Is it? Yeah, it's close. But basically what you're seeing is premature calculation. Like, calculation is important, but also positional judgment is extremely important. And what you're seeing is a player using calculation when they should just use standard positional judgment. There's nothing to calculate. We're calculating nothing, basically. I don't know how to explain it, but like, we're spending lots of energy calculating things that have no basis on the position. Like, what are we going to achieve that's so wonderful that we need to do all this stuff? Like, I don't know. I'm curious the evaluation here, by the way. I mean, white's still fine, right? Like, Houdini still has white slightly better. So, like, why do we do all this without castling? It's just, positional judgment is, this is easy. This one's a real easy one. You don't have to be strong. You just have to have certain rules, and one of those rules is just castle. Just get your king safe. And this, Black is a strong player. Black is 1900 here. He's not a beginner. Everybody makes this type of mistake. I mean, under 2200, completely normal. And the lower you get, the more likely you are to not castle in a situation like this. And it's a big weakness. No amount of calculation is necessary. The stuff he wrote, the annotations were not necessary. All that he had to write was, I should be getting my king safe, not doing anything else in a position like this. So, I mean, he did this, and, things got a little ugly. He didn't mention the queen g4 move, which was, like, the obvious move to me. Queen d4 looked good. That was a nice move, because, well, the queen g7 thing is still there. Knight of 6, for some reason, I didn't see it. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, he wrote that because of this move, bishop takes c3 was bad, but it's not because of this, Even if bishop c3 was okay, it would have been a bad move, because castles is just what you do. It's just, people, strong players don't sit there and fight on move 7 to not castle and to like do something like slightly weird that maybe gives them equality or something. It's just a weird way of thinking. I mean, positional judgment, very, very important. Like, you just kind of know what move to make. Bishop d3, and now he gets a d6, attempting to place my pawns in dark squares for 2 reasons: to give my c8 bishop more scope and to limit the activity of his c3 bishop. Well, listen, I would have castled, again. I mean, you notice also later how not having castled totally killed him. His king was just stuck in the middle. I think, white's just better after castles. I'm just curious how much. Yeah, it's ugly, but let me see if it likes white more after. Yeah, it thinks it's both pretty crappy. I would have castled though. I feel like better at least have my king safe so I don't get checkmated. I don't know. Maybe queen b6 is interesting. Oh no, that's c5. Let's see what Houdini says. Queen e7. Forget that. I would just castle. But yeah, white's just better now. c5 is a nice move. Impressive. Because queen takes c3 was good. And yeah, he mentioned one thing which I didn't mention in my notes, but the problem is, I didn't mention it because I saw it in my head and didn't bother to say it out loud. The problem is we can't go here because it's just bishop b4, check. Because his idea would be like this and this, threatening mate. Well, first of all, queen f3 is playable, followed by rook d1, but secondly, bishop b4 is just winning. So yeah, I mean, just things are going really, really badly here. Queen d5 is correct. No other move than this. And now he says this position is not good at all for me. It's 2 bishops, and I especially weak in the dark squares. In addition to that, my pawns on c6 and a7 are a bit weak. See, here's the thing. He's missing the thread here. Forget all that. The big problem, king in the middle, rook out of play. What are we going to do about that? And he never solved that puzzle all game. Never all game. So he went a5, idea of bishop a6, and then he kind of said he chickened out. He didn't go bishop a6. He realized the thing that we talked about, I think. Yeah, he wrote the same line that we looked at. e5. The game's pretty bad here. It's not hopeless, but it's really ugly. Let's see what Houdini says. I'm surprised it's only 0.6. Yeah, this is more like, I expect like 0.8 in a position like this. Bishop d5. I don't know if that was good. We just have to get our king into the game somehow. I don't know how to do it though, really. What's this rook b8? I guess, make some tempo move, attack the b pawn. Maybe then we could go rook b5. I don't know. That's probably makes sense, but somehow what we did didn't help. This move is strong too. Yeah, and he blundered this one. So, um, yeah, I mean, I feel like his annotations kind of missed the point. I know you guys can't see them, but he almost nowhere mentions how important just castling is. I mean, and I think he doesn't have a sense for how strange this move is. Like, it's just like not a move that I would ever play. You know, unprovoked too. Like, hey, you know, and also like he may think this is one chance because next 94 can't be played. But you know, when you know other positional ideas like d5, um, when you know this is probably okay for me for black, it makes it easier to kind of figure out what to do. I mean, we could also try d5 right away if we don't want to open up his bishop. This looks also perfectly fine. I mean, this just looks fine for black. It might even be easier than knight takes knight. I don't see any reason to force this trade, honestly. So, yeah, we just gain nothing from this. And castle's his normal move. And that's kind of the key to the game. Yeah, key is to know when to calculate and when to just play like normal chess that they teach you in like the beginner's books to just get your king safe and only then start to do active start doing active things. Like the time to think about maneuvers like this is not with your king in the middle. And I know there's exceptions to every rule, but and this move is also completely strong. Which I saw this in 1 second because it's just like a typical thing when your king's not defended. There's just problems. There's problems in your position. So Scott could learn a lot from this game, honestly. Just about like when to calculate and when to just play kind of according to standard chess concepts, which are develop your pieces, castle, do things in the center with your pawns, like d5 next or something. So, and his opponent played well. Yeah, he played a good game. His opponent played really well after Scott made some mistakes. Did use the two bishops very nicely. Found some good moves with bishop a4 and c5. Very nice stuff. So thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this analysis. I think it was an interesting game. And I will see you later. I'm going to do some more of these, probably. Like every Thursday, I usually put a slow game up, but if I don't do that, I should have one of these up instead. I hope. I'll try my best. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.